Bonsoir, Shara.
Bonsoir.
Hey, bonsoir, Ali.
Bonjour.
All right, so we are going to let's talk for a second about our next couple classes. Today and Monday's class, we are going to be finishing up our food unit. But next Wednesday, we are actually going to start our book. Okay, so you want to make sure next Wednesday you start to bring your book to class with you, every class. We're going to do a lot of work with it, so you want to make sure that you have it open and with you. I had a lot of questions in my other class earlier. They wanted to know, are we reading this by ourselves or are we reading this book in class? The answer is we're going to do a little bit of both. Okay. So Wednesday, we're going to talk about the book and some things that we're going to do before the book and during the book. You'll have small activities to do in between, and I will assign you certain parts that I would like for you to read. So make sure next Wednesday you start to bring your book with you. Okay. Any questions about that? No? All right, well, then let's get started for today. Today, we're going to talk about two desserts. The first one is called oh, Ali, go ahead.
I just wanted to ask, when does this term, well, this whole class end?
So all of my classes are different. That's a good question. Before we get in, I can look when your class stops. I think the last class for this, yep, it's Monday, June 2nd. And the reason it ends on a Monday and not a Wednesday is because we have Memorial Day in there, which we'll be off for because it's a holiday. So essentially, we have, after today, we have un, deux, trois, quatre, cinq, six, sept, huit. We only have 8 more class meets after today. Okay, so 4 more weeks, which we'll be working on our book for those last 8 classes. Okay. Any other questions before we move on? No. All right. Well, let's talk about some desserts then today. So hang on, let me get my picture back up. Our first dessert is called a millefeuille. Who remembers what number is mille? Shara, what number is mille?
1,000?
1,000. Very good. And feuille is the French word for leaf. So literally translated, millefeuille means 1,000 leaves. It doesn't have anything to do with leaves, really. The reason it's called 1,000 leaves is because if you see these little cookie parts, kind of look like graham crackers a little bit, this part of the millefeuille, it's actually made from several thin sheets of what's called phyllo dough. It's the same type of dough that we use for croissants, for example. It's very, very thin. Now, do we sit there and count out 1,000? No, we don't. We don't know how many is in them. But because you use so many different layers of phyllo dough to make one of the little cookies, that's why it is called a millefeuille. Now, several desserts that are French desserts today actually came from Italy. And this is one of them. Millefeuille was originally Italian, and then an Italian chef came over in the mid 1600s, and it became very French after that. But it originated actually in Italy, in Naples to be exact. So a millefeuille is kind of like a little graham cracker, but it's lighter and it's crispier than that. Um, and then it has custard filling in between. So custard filling is kind almost like a pudding, a thicker pudding, or if you've ever had like a Boston cream donut, the filling that's inside of there is like a custard. And then on the top, you will have icing. And the neat thing about the icing is that it will be white, only white and black. That's what's traditional for a millefeuille. The white will be on the top, and the chocolate will actually be in different designs that are hand done with a tool or even a toothpick. A traditional millefeuille actually makes it look like the veins in a leaf. So in the top left picture, that's what a traditional millefeuille looks like. You see how the top design of chocolate kind of looks like the inside of a leaf. But they can look different. For the holidays, a lot of times they'll do like beautiful Christmas trees or gifts or bells or for the springtime. They'll do flowers, for example, or they'll do the logo or the letter for the cafe or the pâtisserie that is making them. So they're always different. No two millefeuilles are the same because they are all handmade differently with love. So that's the first one, a millefeuille. How many of you would try this one? Nobody? A couple of you. Okay, good. Those of you who say no, does the custard filling turn you off a little bit? It's very light. It doesn't have a super strong taste. Allie?
No, I was just saying that I would.
Oh, good. Did you have one when you traveled to France?
Sadly, I did not.
Ah, yeah, you got to try a millefeuille. You can get them everywhere. It's very common dessert. Now, the next one we're going to talk about is one everybody always associates with France, des macarons. But guess what? They actually were Italian as well. They did not originate in France, but today people think of them more as French than they do Italian, and we'll talk about why. There's a history behind that. Allie?
Isn't it? Well, I think I know why. The history of it, and also
Go ahead.
macaroons are my absolute favorite dessert.
Oh, good.
Isn't it that a princess or a royal hire person wanted these macaroons, so she went down to Italy and requested a whole bunch, but the people down there said no, they would not do them. So she took the recipe up to France and asked them to do it.
Sort of. You're on the right track. So in the mid 1500s, um, Catherine de' Medici, who was from a super wealthy family in Italy. She was from like the richest family in all of Europe. And there, Medici is an Italian name. She eventually became Queen of France. And she was promised to the then Prince of France when she was very young. France thought that this would be a good alliance because she was so wealthy, and it would be a good alliance with Italy. And it was good for France because then when she married him, he got her riches and her wealth and her money. And when she did not want to move to France, she did not want to live in France. She really didn't want to be the Queen of France, but she did bring some things with her from her country. And one of those is this dessert. Now, there's a difference between macaroons and macarons. Macarons are the traditional Italian version, which is actually different than the French adaptation today. So when Catherine de' Medici, who became the Queen of France eventually, brought her recipe over, it changed over time to become a French adaptation of it. And so you're right. You are right, Ali. It did have to do with French royalty, well, Italian royalty that became French royalty, right? Even though she was not the princess in Italy, but her family had a lot of clout because they were very wealthy. Emily?
I was just gonna say I don't know which one I tried, a macaron or macaron, but I thought they looked like so fluffy and I just wanted to try one, and then I realized it was like cold and like it wasn't very soft, and I was like, oh, that's so weird. It wasn't my favorite, but I just want to say I've tried one.
No, I don't like them either, to be honest. I think they look pretty. I think they look beautiful in storefronts, but I actually don't care for them. And something that people don't know is that they actually have tree nuts in them, even though you can't tell the nuts are in them. And one of my sons is severely allergic to tree nuts. And we learned the hard way that they have tree nuts in them because you can't see the nuts. So it's not something that I keep in my house just because of that or that we would buy or get. But I don't like them either, actually. And I seem to usually be in the minority in that. So I'm glad you joined my club, Emily. Allie?
That's okay. You can give them all to me. I'll happily
Okay,
eat them
we
for you.
will. I think they look beautiful though. But they are very different. The Italian version and the French version are very different. So I would be interested to know which one you had, Emily, and to know which one exactly you didn't like. Now, this isn't why people kind of associate them with France more so today. The real reason is because at the end of the French Revolution, so the end of the 1700s, we talked when we were talking about cheeses, right? How France was starving. A lot of the farmlands in France were used for battle. The revolution started in Paris, in the city. But what happened was the surrounding countries around France came in with their armies to help suppress the revolutionaries in France. They were helping the French king, but really what they were doing was suppressing the people who were revolting against the king, because they also rule their neighboring countries with kings. And they were like, well, in France over there, if they overthrow their king, we don't want our people to hear that happened and try to overthrow us. So they tried to suppress the people. And when they came in from the other countries, they had to pass through all of the fields and the farmlands, and it destroyed all of the agriculture. And so people were incredibly hungry, starving, dying because they were hungry. And after the French Revolution in Paris, two nuns decided to learn how to make des macarons. And there was a group of people in France, the people who were in the pocket of the king and considered the bourgeoisie, who still had money. They were doing okay. They weren't suffering. And so what they would do is they learned how to make them, and they would sell beautiful boxes of macarons to the people who could afford them. They did not keep the money. They only spent the money on supplies, and then they would help feed hungry children in Paris, because they didn't want to see the children go hungry during this time period after the revolution. And if you don't know, nuns refer to each other as sisters. And eventually they opened up their own shop in Paris that is still there today. And this is what they called their shop, and this is what it's called today, Maison des Sœurs Macaron. They became known as the Macaron Sisters. And so that is what their little storefront was called, and that is what it is still called today. And so I think more so that is why people kind of think of them as French, because they really exploded in France at the end of the revolution. They were bright, they were colorful, they were sweet. For the people who could afford them, it made them happy. But the only ones who really could afford them were the people who had sided with the king. And I've always thought it was quite ironic that the nuns turned around and used the money that they were spending on the revolutionary. It was really their children, right, to helping feed the children who were hungry. So that's a little bit of history about a couple desserts, des millefeuilles et des macarons. So next class, we're going to talk about our last food, which is ratatouille, which is the last thing that's on your list. All right, today we are going to review an old verb, and we're going to learn a new verb. We are going to review the verb manger, which I know you all know means to eat, but we're going to review how to conjugate it. Remember that we can't use manger when we're talking about meals of the day, but we can use it when we're talking about actually eating some food, right? Eating something. So I wanted to review how to do regular ER verbs, because manger is, for the most part, a regular ER verb. So I know you all remember that the first thing we're going to do is take off our ER, right? And then we're going to have our root of the verb, which, remember, is going to be the same for every single subject. And let's pick your brain to see who remembers our endings. Hopefully all of you do, but it'll be a good review for you to kind of see if you remember or not. All right, who remembers? What's our ending going to be for je, for ER verbs? Aria?
For je?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
What's our ending? I couldn't hear you, Aria. If you said it, I couldn't hear it.
Oh, I thought you did hear me. Sorry. I
No.
said just an E, right?
Yeah, no, we did not hear that. There we go.
Oh, weird.
That's okay. You cut out. It's all right. Je mange. Very good. It ends in an E. And then for two, what's always our ending for two? Emily?
Yes.
Good. Remember, we don't pronounce the ES. We say tu manges. How about for Elanel? Shara?
Also ni.
Also an E. Very good. Remember the little rhyme I taught you for ER verbs? I, you, he, she, E, ES, E. Now we're going to skip new for right now, and we're going to go down to vous. Who can tell me what is our ending for vous? Shara?
Easy.
Good. Manger, vous mangez. And then how about for Elanel plural? Aria?
ENT.
Very good. Remember, we will never say the ENT at the end of the verb. This will be pronounced mange. And that's the last sound. We never say the ENT. Now, I skipped new because manger is a special ER verb. Remember, manger ends in GER. And we talked about how GER verbs, all of the endings let me start over. All of the endings start with an E. So if you look here at the screen, you can see G and then they all have E afterwards, right? This allows the G to be a soft G sound and make a Z sound. News ending doesn't start with an E. It starts with an ONS. Starts with an O. If we did not put anything after the G, it would sound like this, mangon, which is not French. We don't have that sound in French and it doesn't mean anything. So remember with GER verbs for new, we have to add an E in between the G and the ONS. So now it says nous mangeons, nous mangeons. You guys did a great job reviewing ER verbs. You guys did a better job than my class earlier did. So I'm glad I'm ending the night on that with you all. Good job. Now we're going to learn a brand new verb for us today. We are going to learn the verb boire, which means to drink. Boire ends in an RE, but it's an irregular verb. It doesn't follow normal rules. So the first thing I'm going to do is actually draw a boot because boire is a boot verb. All right, so there's my little boot. And the thing that makes boire a boot verb is that everything inside the boot will actually start with a BOI. So if we took off the RE, right, we would be left with BOI. Now for new and vous, its prefix is not a BOI, it is a BUV, which is one reason why it is irregular. All right, so for the singular side, for our endings, it's going to end in an S, and a T. So it's sort of like an IR verb, right? It ends in IS, IT. It is pronounced bois. Je bois. Tu bois. Il boit. Bois. For il and L plural inside the boot, our ending for it will be VENT. Remember, we will never say the ENT. So the last sound here is going to be the V sound. Boivent. Ils boivent. Elles boivent. And nous and vous have our regular endings. So we just have ONS and EZ. So we have nous buvons, vous buvez. All right, so now we know 3 different ways to sort of talk about what we're eating or what we're having. We have manger, which you use when you're talking about eating food, something you can really eat. You use boire when you're talking about having a drink. And then we can use prendre to talk about when you are having meals. But you can also use prendre to talk about the food you're eating and the drink you're having. It's kind of like saying, oh, with dinner tonight, I think I'm going to have a water. that would be je vais prendre de l'eau. If you are currently drinking water, you could say je bois de l'eau. I'm drinking water. So these are some verbs just to kind of keep in mind. Now, today we are going to talk about prices and how to ask what the price of something is and how to answer what the price of something is. So one of the things that we learned was that the l'addition is the check or the bill, right? So if you want the bill and you're ready to check out, something you can say is l'addition s'il vous plaît. That just means the check, please, right? Check, please. And remember, we talked about le pourboire, which is the tip, which is done very differently in Europe. So if you look on this right picture here, okay, you can see what they left here in the little tray. Typically, remember, their €1 and €2 are coins. And so typically you'll get a little tray that looks like this at a cafe, because what you get at a cafe is just for something quick and small, and it's not going to be very expensive. So you're going to get a tray that looks like this to put your coins on. So you can see that our total here is €4. And look, they left them a 10-cent tip, which in the US would be like very insulting, but it's actually a compliment in France because you don't have to tip at all. All right, so remember the l'addition is our check. Now, if we want to ask how much something costs, we will ask combien coûte? Combien coûte? Anytime we use the question word combien in French, we're asking how much or how many of something. So try that word, combien. Combien. And coûte means cost. So combien coûte? On my picture here, I have a picture of ice cream. So we would ask combien coûte la glace? How much does the ice cream cost, right? So you can see here it costs €3 and 10 centimes. There's two different ways you could say this in French. We're going to say the ice cream costs, la glace coûte €3.10. You can say €3 and 10 centimes, but most people actually don't say the centime. They don't say cents at all. All they say is la glace coûte €3.10. €3.10. A lot of times prices are hard to hear for people because we have so many liaisons when we are talking about money. So €3, we know 3 is trois and euro is euro. But when we put this together, okay, it's going to have a liaison sound. It's trois euros. And so sometimes prices can be hard to hear if you're just learning. So this would be €3.10. All right, so let's look at another one. You guys are going to help me with the prices. How about if I ask, combien coûte le jus de pomme? How could we say how much the apple juice costs? What would we say? Combien coûte le jus de pomme? Shara?
Le jus de pomme coûte €1. Trois, I guess.
Oui, oui, très bien. Le jus de pomme coûte €1.03. Bravo. All right, how about les fraises? Combien coûtent les fraises? I put the most random numbers too. Sorry about that. But I wanted to practice a bunch of different numbers with you. All right, combien coûtent les fraises? Oh, this is a good review for your numbers, right? If you don't remember numbers. Shara?
Le frais coûte trois
Pas
euros.
toi. No,
Oui.
pas toi.
Ah, oui, 2 euros. 11.
Oui, très bien. 2,11 €. Bravo. Et combien coûtent les frites? Combien coûtent les frites? You know your numbers. You just need number 4 and number 5. How would we say how much les frites coûtent? Aria?
When you say it though, do you say the euro with it?
Yep.
To- okay.
Yep.
That's what's throwing me off when I'm trying to.
So
Okay.
you say like how much the euro is and then euro and then the cents after that.
Okay. 4,5.
Oui, that's it. Very good. So les frites coûtent 4,5 €. Bravo. Et combien coûte le poulet? Le poulet. Allie?
3, 5 €.
So we actually put euro in between the 3 and the 5.
So 3,5 €.
Oui, très bien. Just like we do in English, right? We would say $3.05. So you put the dollars in between like that. Very good. Le poulet coûte 3,5 €. Très bien. All right, now there's an activity I'm going to leave you with that we are going to check at the start of next class. This is an activity where you have to do 2 things. You have to choose whether you should be using to drink or to eat in the sentence. And then you have to conjugate it the right way. Okay, so you're going to read through the sentence and you're going to think to yourself, okay, am I using to drink or to eat here? Who is my subject and how do I conjugate it? So I'm going to leave you with that and we are going to check it at the start of next class. Let's do number 1 together because we have about a minute left. So let's do number 1. It says, ma mère blank du café le matin. So for number 1, are we going to be using to drink or to eat? Shara, which one would you choose?
To drink,
Why?
because it says that my mom's drinking coffee in the morning.
Very good. My mom drinks coffee in the morning. So we're going to use boire. Shara's right. Our subject here is ma mère. So that is going to be conjugated like elle. And today we learned that we conjugate it like this. So we would say ma mère boit du café le matin. Very good. Does everybody understand what you're going to be working on? Oui? All right. So do this real quick. It shouldn't take you long if you took good notes today for your charts, and we'll check it at the beginning of next class. Alors, bon week-end tout le monde. À mardi. Oh, no, à lundi. À lundi.